I don't think Ian O'Brien's have been quite right.
Me comparing him to Frank, I think is a bit stupid.
The Falmouth form is looking very, very good.
It's a screw line.
Was the race. This horse is going to win the Triumph Hurdle.
It's not.
Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend or our week review. Well, we're going to review the Qatar Goodwood Festival. And first of all, we'll start with a big thanks to Goodwood for letting us film up there. The footage went down really well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It seemed like you guys did. We didn't pick too many winners, but we'll blame the ground for that.
Yeah,
it wasn't ideal. We had a few.
Will.
We had Maidani at a decent price in the Golden Mile, asymmetric. I think you had a couple as well, Jack, that you gave big mentions to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we thought we were going to have good to firm or good ground at the time of filming, and of course to do the video and put it all together and whatnot, you have to kind of allow so much time. So we kind of kicked ourselves in the foot that way, but nonetheless, I think we picked out a few, and also we had a great week.
That's it. It is difficult, and we will in the future, once this sort of channel grows, and if you haven't subscribe. But we will start to go live in the future once this channel gets a bit bigger, so we can do the video slightly later in the week with regards to previews, so we have the entries out and it makes it a little bit easier. But also thanks to anyone who came and met us at Goodwood. We had plenty of people come up and say hello, and thanks to all the guys that came up to Goodwood with us. We had a great time up there. It was a really good atmosphere and great to see crowds back on course. We're going to just look at sort of the top races from each day, and we'll start off with day one, where this is where we started the morning. We're thinking, cool, how's the ground going to be? And it didn't quite go our way, Jack, and one horse that we really want to see got pulled out, and that was Stradivarius, which was a massive shame.
Yeah, it was a big shame. I think it kind of took the gloss off of the Goodwood Cup. I don't think True Sham, we were saying, is a great Goodwood Cup winner. I mean, he finished 6th in the Northumberland Plate before that. It was a shame. I mean, we were lucky enough to speak to John Gosden just after, and he just said the ground just wasn't viable for him, which is a bit of a shame because obviously he did it on the Ascot Gold Cup last year, which is definitely his career best performance. So for him not to be able to even attempt for that historic 5 in a row, I think it was a harsh way to start the festival, let's say.
It really was, and it was well, Sir Ron Priestley was in there. Sir Ron Priestley, I was surprised he actually ran. I thought he'd want better ground as well, but I'm sure they're going to drop him back to his optimum distance of a mile 4 or mile 6 next. But True Sham, I'm not sure a very good winner. It was nice to see Holly Doyle get the Group 1 on the board, and Alan King, his first Group 1 as well. He's now Grade 1 and Group 1 winner. So it was lovely to see, but it was a shame that we didn't quite see Stradivarius. Now, one horse that Jack did mention, he didn't actually manage to mention it on our preview, but you mentioned it on the finishing line, where it came out a little bit later, and you mentioned for the vintage was Angel Bleu, whether the ground came up softer, a horse who was going to love soft ground, ran at the weekend prior behind New Science, who could be an absolute monster. Jack and I are both in agreement, but Angel Bleu seems like a horse who's going to relish the soft ground. Yeah,
it seems that way. I mean, Rafe Beckett has an unbelievable record compared to on soft ground than he does compared to good or firmer, especially at Goodwood as well. But I found it quite funny how Frankie said to him, no, give him a rest after that, and Rafe went, no, he's fresh, he's bouncing up the gallops, let's give him another chance. And of course on the ground he did the business.
Ran a mighty race, and Berkshire Shadow, I mean, Oshin, we spoke to him at the end of the week and he said he couldn't have had more seconds. He had unlucky week. Yeah. Was it 9 in total seconds throughout the week? And some of them are actually big prices, but he ran a decent race, Berkshire Shadow. He had a few traffic problems on the rail, did switch out wide. I'm not sure. Do you reckon the horse might have beaten Angel Blue with a clear run? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think as we saw with Space Blues as well, to show a turn of foot on that ground, it was few and far between. I'd say Armour and Migration were kind of the only two who did it in the first 2 days and showed us that turn of foot. So I think it would have been a big ask for the 2-year-old Berkshire Shadow to do that. Yeah, and we'll talk about our horses tonight at the end, and Space Blues will probably be mentioned when we talk about those. Now, we will move on to day 2 now, and we'll talk about one race, and it's going to be the big one, the Sussex Stakes. Now, we were going around talking to plenty of people, and everyone's saying the banker of the week was running here in Poetic Flare, and the ground, you know, it wasn't perfect for Poetic Flare, don't get me wrong, but, you know, he's won on this ground, and I don't know whether Alcohol Free's just a horse that, you know, you've doubted him. There are a lot of doubters who said about the mile, saying that didn't think she'd stay the mile, but she's proven that now, and I think she's a horse that does relish. I don't think she needs it, but I think she does relish a little bit of giving the surface. So I'd say she probably does need it personally. I think we saw that in the coronation. I think she almost wants a slog. And she got it, and I mean, not everything went right for her. I mean, for me, that's one of Oshin's best rides I've seen of his in years. Yeah. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong in the first 2 furlongs went wrong. She was keen, she was forced wide. Oshin had to wait a few furlongs to actually get her in and get a bit of cover. I mean, on that mile, you don't want to be out there, do you? But I mean, luckily enough, it meant that he got the clear run, and I think it was a stunning run. He timed it to perfection. But I do think Poetic Flair, he doesn't need the the firmer going, but that's obviously where he is best. I mean, we saw the St James's Palace was just an absolutely electric performance from him. I know he's still the third top-rated 3-year-old in time forms list, that is. Anyhow, and we'll go on to number 4 when we go on to Friday anyway and talk about that. But no, I think Snow Lantern as well, that was a good performance from her, just backing up that Falmouth form, which is looking unbelievable now, especially as we talk about Lady Bowthorpe. But no, I think, as you say, alcohol free, I haven't been able to warm to her though. I know you definitely have, but I haven't been able to warm to her. I hope they give Poetic Flair a break as well now. He hasn't missed an assignment, has he? He's been going everywhere, so we'll see where he goes next.
He did a fair few runs this
season.
But alcohol free, I mean, the one thing, Snow Lantern also finished 3rd, and we'll talk about the Falmouth form going on to day 3, but the Falmouth form is looking very, very good. And by the time this video's gone up, Primo Baccia would have run in France. We don't know what would have happened, but well, hopefully Primo Baccia has won, because I know Jack's a massive fan. The ground may not quite be in favour. We'll find out by the time this up. Fingers crossed.
When I was speaking to Ed on Thursday, he was hoping.
We're hoping that this horse is a Group 1 miler in the making, but we will see. Let's go on to day 3 now. And Lady Bowthorpe, this is where the Falmouth form comes in. Lady Bowthorpe was very unlucky in the Falmouth, a bit like Primo Baccio. Came with a late run, and this step up to 10 furlongs clearly suited. Emma Banks, William Jarvis, Kieran Schumacher is a great story, probably the story of the week, and potentially one of the races of the week.
Yeah, I'd say it probably was the race of the week. I mean, the Lennox was a good race as well, but I think because it had the story behind it, Kieran Schumacher's come over some tough times, hasn't he? And to see that roar which he gave us as he came over the line, you see the amount of emotion that almost had been bottled up there for, it seemed like, years on end when he came over, and especially when he paraded her to us in the stands after. He gave out another big bellow. So I mean, fair play to Kieran. It was a scream of a ride. I didn't think she'd stay the 10, but he proved us wrong. I mean, she was a bit keen early as well, but I mean, Joan of Arc found nothing, which is kind of where I want to ask you this as well, because Aidan O'Brien, he's only had 8 winners in Britain this season, and I mean, he's still 3rd top in the prize money or something stupid. But for me, I thought that race was perfect for Joan of Arc. If you ask Ryan Moore exactly where he wanted to be 2.5 furlongs out, I think he would have said exactly where he was, dictated the pace and being able to kick away, and she just didn't show a turn of foot. And is that her downfall, or was that the Aidan O'Brien runners in general?
I don't think the Aidan O'Briens have been quite right, personally. The horse didn't find so, but we look at, people might go in the comments and say that Love and Armory from the weekend prior, they didn't run their race. They might say they were just beaten by better horses, but a lot of the O'Brien runners definitely didn't run their race. I mean, even in the Goodwood Cup, you look, I think he had 3 in there. I just think that one of them was expected to at least run well, especially with Stradivarius coming out. You'd expect one of them to be in the top 3, and they all didn't run their race either. So I don't know whether Aidan O'Brien, I mean, it's probably his percentage, probably around 10% at the moment. I think I looked the other day, 9-10%, but in the last 14 days, I just don't know whether they're running quite to form at this moment in time.
Do you also think that's coincidence, or do you think that there's actually some doing behind that? Because I've seen a lot of people, especially stats people, they go and say that horses don't run well at the same time by coincidence, and they do at the same time as coincidence, because I mean, you don't train every horse the same and whatnot. So I don't know.
It's really fascinating. It'd be interesting to actually speak to trainers about it, and why horses and you know, they run to form all at once, and why they don't. It'd be interesting to hear trainers' thoughts, and we might try and get that to you. I mean, it'd be interesting because, well, I mean, I personally don't know too much about it and why it happens. So if you guys want to see it, we'll try and do that, where we can get sort of quick 30-second clips from trainers with regards to it and get it on. It'd be quite an interesting one, maybe as a feature on this channel. Now let's go on to day 3 now. Sorry, not day 3, day 4, and we'll start off with the Superstar, which potentially a horse that's being described as better than Frankel, I've heard quotes of. Now, this is very, very... Who said that? No, I've seen plenty of people. Even when my dad came in, he said there were plenty of people talking and interviewed and all over social media saying better than Frankel. Now, I get why people want to say this, but I don't see this as a saying that you can put out there right now. Don't get me wrong, 4 from 4, he does look outstanding, right? But he's now got to go and prove it in Group 1 class. Now, there are a few races for this horse. Obviously, you've got the Prix Jacques Le Moir, the Celebration Mile, or the Moulin, which is slightly later. And Haggis didn't sound like he was afraid of running this horse quickly. I don't think they'll go to the Moir. I think it will be between coming back to Goodwood for the Celebration Mile or going back for the Moulin in France. What do we make of this animal? How good potentially could this horse be?
Well, I mean, he's unbeaten. He's done everything with so much class. I mean, he could be an absolute superstar, as you say. I mean, for people to be comparing him to Franco, I think it's a bit stupid. I get it from kind of a marketing sense. You want that superstar, and it's more probably heart over head than anything, because we all want that superstar. But I mean, after he's won the Grade 3 Thoroughbred Stakes, we can't. No. We weren't saying it about Tilsit last year, were we? I know he wasn't unbeaten at the time, but I mean, Timeform have given him a rating higher than Hurricane Lane and Snowfall, and he's the fourth highest rated 3-year-old in the world at the moment. And I mean, he was very impressive, but I don't want to put a but on it, because he's so exciting, and hopefully we have seen a superstar in the flesh going forward. But I mean, from a time perspective, he did everything asked of him. He was on the bridle, but it was a second slower than Maidani in the Golden Mile. And I mean, obviously, as I say, he was on the bridle, didn't need to come off it. But from a clock's perspective, it was nothing special. And I mean, I kind of want to see it backed up by that before we go any further. But I mean, personally, I'd like to see him over in the Celebration Mile. I don't think they should be rushing him.
I mean, we're Goodwood fans, so
exactly.
we both want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think they should be rushing him against Palace Pier.
No.
Putting that unbeaten tag on the line against someone like Palace Pier, especially over in France, where whenever the Marois or Moulin are run, it's just testing ground all the time. And I know he's won on good to soft, but I'm not sure he wants heavy ground. I mean, he's got an electric turn of foot, and I think the firmer the surface, the better he's going to be. So I hope he does go for the Celebration Mile. They haven't tried a classic with him, so hopefully they're going to take it nice and slowly and keep that unbeaten tag in state.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I personally said, if you were to kind of compare him to a horse, he reminded me more of Kingman, the way that he changed his foot and kicked. It was that moment, I think at 2 furlongs, a furlong and a half out, changed legs and boom, gone. And then that look from Crowley was that was an arrogant look from Crowley aboard this horse. But quotes are around, I think 5-2 for the QE2 on Champions Day at the end of the season, which is short. I think Palace Pier, if that race is 2-1, I think it'd be interesting to see if they do go up against each other at the end of the season. Jack and I are now confirmed to be there Champions Day, and we're looking forward to that and seeing some quality action there at Ascot in October. And the other horse on day 4, Jack, that I thought was, again, really impressive. One of the best performances of the week as well. I think these were 2 of the best performances we've seen all week. But Swayzer was really, really good, beating some decent horses. Now, before we talk about the performance, we'll talk about Batash, because obviously Batash is now retired. It's sad to see, but as the race ended, Jack and I looked at each other and said that might be the end, and it was, Jack. It is a shame, but he's given us so much.
Oh, he owes us absolutely nothing. It's 4 King Georges, an Abbey, and 2 Numpthorpes and a King's Stand. I mean, he's an absolute warrior, isn't he? He showed us some brutal speed, especially at Goodwood, which we were lucky enough to see. And yeah, he was a true warrior. He was travelling well up to 2 furlongs out, and of course the ground was probably a little bit too testing for him at his old age of 7. So I mean, it is sad to see him go out. But yeah, Swayzer, as you say, I mean, to bounce back from that Commonwealth Cup, it just shows what a little bit of cover could do for him. I mean, William Buick got him tucked up into a nice, what I thought was a pocket at one point, but I don't really know why they came off that rail, because it just let Swayzer go and use that rail on the better ground down the stand side. So I thought that was a bit odd. But I mean, for me, that ride was just testament to how well William Buick rides Goodwood. Yeah. I mean, for what was a pocket for other jockeys, becomes cover for him, and suddenly he gets out of it without even a problem. I mean, it was 7 winners, wasn't it? I mean, I was looking today at some of the stats of the other jockeys. I mean, he's got a 25% strike rate in the last 5 years at Goodwood. Oisin Murphy's is 14, Ryan Moore's is 13, and you'd probably say Ryan Moore rides the better horses at Goodwood as well. And Richard Hughes, obviously the Goodwood legend, was only 19.8% in his last 4 years. So I mean, Buick is literally smashing every stat at Goodwood. I mean, to do that after the King George, the day before his wedding, or 2 days before his wedding as well. I mean, the man was on fire.
That's it, yeah, he really was. And Dragon Symbol was an interesting runner in the race prior, and actually ran a decent race. Oisin got another one that got a decent toe in and came late. And Dragon Symbol, a horse that I really do think deserves a Group 1. I really do, and I think he will get
his days
a Group 1. I think he definitely will. And William Buick, yeah, what a week had. Jack and I both mentioned that he'd be viable for top jockey. I don't know if there was a market available on anyone who did get on. I don't know what price William Buick was, but he had his wedding on Sunday. Congratulations to William. I know that on Monday at Kempton He had a few horses that were well backed. Whether the hangover was there and he didn't quite win on there, I don't quite know. But yeah, well, congratulations to all. We had a great week, and congratulations on getting married. Now, we'll go on to the final day now, where, Jack, you've probably got a lot to say about this horse here in the Lily Langtry Stakes. Now, we didn't expect to see this horse here. We said in our preview we expect to see this horse in the King George, but wonderful tonight. Impressive, okay, or you're just not quite sure whether this horse can win an Arc?
She got the job done. She got the job done over 2 furlongs further than she wanted. I mean, she was travelling like a dream up to 3 furlongs and almost idled a little bit in the last furlong and a half. To beat Tribal Craft by such a short distance, obviously people were quick to squander the form, which is fair enough. I mean, they wanted to see her do it by 5, 6, 7 lengths, but I mean, we were speaking to David after. If he said that was 85 at Ascot, he thought this was about 90. I mean, he didn't think there was too much more improvement. He even said that perhaps she came out a little bit too quick after that. Who knows how much that actually took out of her. But I mean, he was still very bullish, wasn't he, when we spoke to him? He knew the Arc was the target.
Yeah.
But he did say, of course, she's entered in the Yorkshire Oaks, and that is where he wants her to go. But he did say he doesn't want her to run her big race before the Arc. So I do think if Snowfall or Tonard will go, I think she probably won't. I mean, I think he'll kind of wrap her in bubble wrap now. She's had 2 quite hard tasks, but I think it was over 2 furlongs further than an Optimum trip, and I think for people to be downing that form, I think, was a bit outrageous. I think it was a quality performance, and I mean onwards and upwards.
It was very good, and David's interview after the race saying how they're going to get wonderful tonight, and his response was via the Eurotunnel was very, very, very good. I did enjoy that. Now, I think that, a Mar6 clearly isn't, what she wants, and she was asked, but the horse that did came in behind, Tribal Craft, I mean, we'll get on to horses that we're going to just sort of note in a bit, did run a really decent race from the back. Were you slightly worried that Tribal Craft was coming over this distance to take her?
Oh yeah, I mean, I said to you straight after, didn't I? I was at a furlong and a half out. I was like, my heart was going. I was thinking, wonderful tonight's going to get beat here. But I mean, I think a testament to William Buick again about how he kept her at his work and how she got the job done. And I think she just has a cracking attitude. She's such a likeable filly with such a likeable trainer. I think it is going to be interesting who is on her for the Arc. Of course, Oshie Murphy's already on Chronogenesis. William Buick's already on one of the Godolphin boys. And I mean, I think it'll probably either be Olivier Pellier or Tony Pickhill.
Why, yeah, Pickhill, yeah. Well, I've been watching Windsor this evening, and the owner of Wonderful Tonight was there and was questioned by Matt Chapman of who's going to ride this horse in the Arc. They are 99% sure it will be a French jockey.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
So that's guaranteed. Now, Tony Pickhill is riding in Hong Kong, so it may not be him. They're saying he may obviously come over for the ride, but it may not be him. The only other jockey out in France that has ridden is Olivier Pellier, sort of early on in Wonderful Tonight's career. So he may be a favoured jockey, and he has got experience. That's one advantage of someone like Pellier. He's an experienced jockey. Frankie were the calls of a lot of people. I don't like this whole Frankie thing. Like, I love Frankie Dettori, but I don't think sort of a big race you just quickly go Frankie Dettori, get him on.
I mean, personally, I think Olivier Pellier obviously a great jockey, but I just don't think he's as good as in the finish as he was back in the day. I mean, obviously he's older now, but I think with Wonderful Tonight, if it's going to be testing conditions, you're going to be in the finish, you're going to be in the drive for quite a while, and I don't know if that's exactly what he wants.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a hell of an Arc, and I'm looking forward to the Yorkshire Oaks, hopefully seeing the likes of Snowfall taking on Tarnawa, and maybe Wonderful Tonight. We'll wait and see. Now let's quickly discuss. We won't mention it for long, but the Stewards Cup, obviously one of the highlights of the week on the Saturday. Comanche Falls. All I would say about this horse is only 4, showing a really decent turn of foot, and I think sort of listed in group company for next season, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, spot on. I mean, I do kind of want to give a quick mention to Bielsa and Oshie Murphy's ride down the middle. Down the middle. I mean, I didn't know if it was a brilliant ride or an awful ride at the time, but watching it back, I mean, it was very close to being one of the rides of the century. I mean, to do that all up on his own with no cover whatsoever, I thought it was a cracking attempt.
Yeah, it really was. Let's get on to a couple of horses to note now, Jack, for the week, and we'll start off with a horse where Jack and I actually had a small punt on this horse before the race, and it was the final race on the Friday, which was a handicap won by Wink of an Eye, and the horse was the Gary Moortrain God. No one's going to It's begun.
The Gary Moore
trained Champagne Piaf. The horse went off at 40-1. Jack and I definitely didn't think the horse would be 41, should be, so we did have a very small punt on this horse. A 3-year-old, going to be 4 next season. Travelled really well into the race, met some traffic, wandered all over the show, has got perfect signs at this stage with all of this nutcase ability just like a Nassalam or a Goshen. Jack, is it too early to say that this horse is going to win the Triumph Hurdle?
It's not. He's going to win the
It might
Triumph.
be
He's gonna win
realistic.
the Triumph.
Oh.
Oh, no, Sam. Honestly, I mean, I thought it was a great run, wasn't it? I mean, 279-day break, stepping up from 7 furlongs to a mile 3. I mean, speaking of a markedly being steps up in trip, that's almost doubling your trip. So, I mean, fair play. But, I mean, even looking through his juvenile campaign, I mean, he was 4th on debut behind Labarosa, now rated 108. Derab 113, Great Gadian 93. He then won on his second start, beating Fundamental, who was of course second in the Bunbury Cup. I mean, his form's actually looking quite strong on the flat, which would almost be at the detriment to if they want to go over hurdles with him. But I mean, these are the two things that I like. I mean, obviously on his dam side, his dam's related to Kruger Rover, who was second in the Arkle back in 2008. So I mean, he's definitely going to be able to go over hurdles and go over further if that's the case. And I mean, Champagne Piaffe sponsor a novices hurdle at Fontwell every year in February. The Champagne Piaffe novices hurdle, with Champagne Piaffe making his debut over hurdles next February. I mean,
I know.
It's just going to happen.
It's going to happen. As soon as we see this horse over hurdles, this is going to be our big follower going into Cheltenham. God.
It's just going to happen. Gary Moore, Jamie Moore.
It's not quite
Triumph Redemption.
It's not quite the finishing line to Princess Zoe when they went following this horse, but we've got a Champagne Piaffe for Gary Moore. But the horse, like Jack said, has some really decent form. That was off a long break, and even on the flat, I think this horse may be worth following next time out. May run a really decent race depending on where they go with this horse. Now, a couple of others to mention. I'll mention Jack did do it at the start of the preview, but Space Blues ran almost an identical race to the previous year in the Lennox. The ground obviously a little bit softer. You could say he was slightly unlucky in some ways. Came wide, but it was what he did last year. But on the ground, didn't quite get his turn of foot, Jack did.
Oh yeah, he's clearly still the same horse. I think that's what's reiterated from that. I mean, he was staying on at the end, get him over 7 furlongs or 6.5. I mean, in the Maurice de Geese, and anything further than heavy, I think he'll take all the beating.
That's it. I think that Space Blues is the best 7 furlong horse out there in training at the moment. And the other one, as I mentioned in the Lily Antry, is Tribal Craft. I think Oshin seemed, when we spoke to him after racing, he said that he was almost a little surprised, he seemed, by the run, and said that was a career best and that she's going to come on a hell of a lot, and she stayed on really stoutly. I was really taken by her. She was well backed actually, from about 33 to 1 into 16 to 1 for the race, but I'd definitely give her a shot next time out as well. Is there anyone else for you, Jack, from the week?
Yeah, it's just the one, and I mean, it's quite an obvious one, but it was the Chesterfield Cup, obviously the curtain raiser of the festival, the winner Migration. I mean, his last 2 furlong splits were 11.92 seconds and 12.01. which is at 112% finishing speed. So he hit that line very strong. I mean, to show that turn of foot after 2 years off and only one run at Salisbury was quite impressive. I mean, that was off a mark of 95, so I can imagine they'll go for one more handicap. I know he's entered in the Clipper Logistics handicap at York, so I mean, they could go there, but I think Group Company does beckon for him, and at the moment, the sky's the limit.
That's it. It's going to be. It was an interesting week. It wasn't the best from a betting perspective. I don't know about. Let us know down in the comments if you had a really good week, but it was really tough. Hoping when we go next year, we get the ground that we're wanting. But it was a really fun week nonetheless. We really did enjoy ourselves. Now we're going to be back with you guys on Thursday. Now it's probably not the best racing coming up this weekend. Jack and I will probably give our team selection for the Shergold Cup at Ascot. We won't probably preview any of the races, but we'll try and pick out who's going to have the best chance out of all the teams. But there is some group racing from Newmarket and Haydock, and we'll also preview the Phoenix Stakes, the Group 1 from the Curragh on Sunday.
Cracking race as well.
Yeah, at the moment on entries it's looking a really, really good race, so we're looking forward to that. But yeah, we've got the Triumph Hurdle winner for 2022, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.